Hi there, greetings and salutations. And that is a tribute, by the way, to the great Mike Henn, who just announced his retirement from the Indy 11. So congratulations to Mike Henn on his retirement, one of the great guys around sports in Central Indiana. But my name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. And Derek, I am wearing today, I have no disparaging against this brand, but this shirt is apparently the official Combine workout shirt. And by being at the NFL Combine, they gave us right here. NFL Combine Combine Authentic, it says. You can't see that.
Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm wearing that because it's Combine week.
Or was.
Last week, yeah. We're wrapping up the Combine. And we're going to talk about that, so I'm wearing this.
Okay.
But I also brought along, and I'm going to wear this use this the whole show. Do you know why I have this?
No, I know you're a toothpick guy, but no, I don't
How'd you know that?
I don't know why you have it.
How'd you know I was a toothpick
Because we've
guy?
had many dinners together. We're best friends. And I know when they have the little dispenser at the end, you always pop it in.
This toothpick is a tribute. I'll bet you Greg Rakestraw knows the tribute. He'll get the reference.
Razor Ramon?
Nope. Second guess?
Did Omar Little used to have a toothpick
You're
sometimes?
real close.
Okay.
But you're close, not an Omar Little.
I know he smoked Newports, so maybe I'm thinking
But when I was a kid, there were two baseball players who just were super cool to me. Omar Moreno, who was a Pittsburgh Pirate, and the Kansas City Royal, UL Washington. I always just thought he was super cool.
Yeah.
UL Washington was a basically utility infield player for the Royals, later played for the Expos, I think the Pirates also. But he was one of 11 children, and UL was literally his first name. It was not initials.
Yeah.
I just think that alone is cool, right? But UL Washington passing away on the 3rd of March from cancer at the age of 70 in his home state of Mississippi. And he played Major League Baseball games always with a toothpick.
I did not know
So it's kind of hard to do a radio show with a toothpick in your mouth, but I'm going to try to do it in tribute to UL.
Not really my era, but I saw that he had passed away.
Yeah.
And you gravitated, back in the baseball card pre-internet days, you gravitated towards the guys that had cool names or funky names. Remember, sometimes Tim Raines would be Rock Raines on his card, and you're like, oh, yeah, Rock Raines. Hell yeah, brother.
You don't want to know why he was Rock, by the way.
Oh, well, Oil Can Boyd.
Yeah, Dennis Boyd, yeah.
Another great one. And sometimes on the baseball card, it would straight say
Catfish
Oil Can.
Hutter, was that for me?
But yeah, UL, and there are probably dozens more.
When I played Little League Baseball, my glove, it was a Rawlings, endorsed by, and then it had the autograph on the inside. Mine was Jim Catfish Hunter.
Oh, nice.
And which, I mean, that he would have been probably past. So
I was going to say, that's late even for you.
For my first glove. But
I had Matt Noakes.
Who?
Matt Noakes. Tigers, Yankees.
Okay.
He made a couple All-Star games, I think. Yeah, Matt Noakes is a good player, catcher. Okay. Good player. Yeah.
Was it a catcher's glove?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it must have been, right?
Why would you have had a catcher's glove in the outfield?
Well, originally I wanted to catch, and then they saw how crappy of a hitter I was, and they immediately put me
catching
in left field.
I'll tell you what, from a baseball standpoint, catcher might be the hardest position to play.
Oh, no question. Wear and tear for sure.
But not only that, though, have you ever tried to catch like a legitimate fastball?
No, I'd be scared to death.
Be scared to death. Because your eyes automatically do kind of blend, like when it's coming in. Yeah. It is not an easy thing to do.
You could put me behind 10-foot thick bulletproof glass and have me catch a major league pitcher, and I would be scared to death seeing that thing coming at me.
It's
scared
pretty
to death.
Crazy stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, we have a lot to talk about, Derek, over the course of the show today. From the Combine to college basketball and the Pacers as well.
Tell me if you disagree. I think right now they're playing tonight. They're playing, depending on when you're watching this, I guess they're playing later. They're in Dallas tonight. We're taping this right now on Tuesday. I think we should start there. I think
who are you talking about?
The Pacers.
Okay, thanks.
I think the Pacers are where we start. They're just – I'm not panicking, Jake, and I understand that this is a process. And overall, I still think they're ahead of where they probably should be. But let's face it, the expectations have risen for this team, right?
Right.
They're going to be in the playoffs. Whether it's the play-in round or the actual field, we don't know that yet. They're going to be in the playoffs, barring a complete catastrophe. I think to fall to 11th, they'd have to basically lose out over these final 20 games. It's a near mathematical impossibility. But they're so close to this season being regarded as a great one. You know, being the fourth or fifth team in the East. If I would have told you that before the year, you would have been ecstatic over that.
Right.
But they're also this close to being the ninth team, you know, and being play-in round fodder and having 2 quick losses and a quick exit and a long offseason after that. So there's just a lot on the line here for the Pacers. Very rarely in an 82-game NBA season do you feel like games are critically important. But from here on out, every single game the Pacers play, because those teams in the East, Knicks, Sixers, Heat, Magic, everybody's bunched up, they're critically important, all of them.
Derek, this is what, and I don't think this is the case. I don't. But it's in the back of my brain. We have seen for this franchise over the last 15 years, a handful of players that were like immediately, you know, this is a franchise player, right? Like this is the guy that's our franchise that didn't handle it well. And things changed once the microscope really honed in on them. Maybe not changed in terms of their style of play, maybe changed in the way they were guarded, maybe changed in the way that they started listening to the wrong people. Tyrese Haliburton, I don't think that any of those things are the case. I don't think that, let me back that up. I don't think that Tyrese Haliburton has emotionally changed. I don't think that Tyrese Haliburton is like listening to bad advice. But I think Tyrese Haliburton is being guarded differently. I think he's being guarded by bigger players than previously. And I think Tyrese Haliburton, after the All-Star game where it was great because he was put on this stage and spotlighted as Indianapolis's ambassador for the All-Star game, I think he's still worn down from it. I think he has a mental and physical fatigue that is hanging over from the All-Star game. I think that he is having to learn how to play when now all of a sudden you are. I mean, there's a difference between being a superstar and then long-term staying a superstar, because the way you're guarded is different. The way that teams scout you is different. You know, Rick Carlisle said this morning on the radio that he is now being guarded by longer players, bigger players. They're putting bigger players on him. He's being picked up full court. Things have changed for him. Mm-hmm. And how he adjusts to that is going to be critical to watch. I think he will. But I understand why Pacer fans look at it and they see the way Paul George regressed a little bit because he got caught by side distractions, by Victor Oladipo regressing as a Pacer because he got caught by side distractions, and being worried that's happening with Tyrese Haliburton. I don't think that's the case, but I think they have to make adjustments not only for Haliburton, but in the way they play as well to counter the adjustments that are being made because of him.
Yeah, I think he's just a guy that's out of gas. I think he's just on empty.
And he might still be hurt a little bit.
If, let's say, when that injury happened, it was Boston, right? Early January.
Right, yeah.
Early January, that injury happened, like right after the holidays. I think I have my timeline right. Let's say that his tank was on half empty at that point. Remember, that timeline was originally like 3-4 weeks or something like that, and they hustled him back. I mean, he worked to get back. I think that zapped some of the energy, and then working to get himself right, I think exhausted, and plus the All-Star game exhausted the fuel that was left in the tank. And I get it. People are going to be like, well, guess what? That's life. NBA star, right? This is what you have to do. I get it. But this is still an adjustment for him. And this is still, the word that I keep going back to is growth. You know, this entire team is growing and learning how to do this. You can't just expect it to happen overnight. And for the Pacers suddenly to be a playoff team and for Haliburton to suddenly be an NBA star and know exactly how to handle it and deal with it. I think all of those things take a little bit of time. But this has just been a very average basketball team in 2024. I think they're 10-11 or 10-12 since the injury. They're 3-3 since the All-Star break. I mean, they're a basketball team.
Derek, to be fair, they haven't been an entirely healthy team. I
True.
mean, Haliburton, here's the thing in regards to the Haliburton injury. A big part of, and I'm not saying that Haliburton insisted on this. I think some of this was genuinely all above board, okay? But for Haliburton playing the threshold to be able to be eligible for the Supermax or whatever it was for his contract extension to be a higher amount, he had to play, I believe it's 65 games, something like that. So he gets back to meet that threshold. Well, the other aspect of that is you got to be a first, second, or third team All-NBA player. It's possible that rushing that back to get those games dipped his level of play to the point where now that may be in jeopardy also. But you go with if you don't play the games, you absolutely rule yourself out of that. So you go with the possibilities here, but it could be working against itself is what I'm getting at there. But, I just think that it is also possible that he is not playing at full strength. And then you look at, to my other point, the rest of the roster. Jalen Smith's been banged up. Benedict Mathurin has missed some time. They've been hurt at key areas. Obviously, Aaron Nesmith, who I think is a really important player for them, missed some games. So they haven't been necessarily 100%. But to your point, that's the NBA. I mean, we can't get out the violin for them because that's kind of the way it goes. You look at Jalen Smith right there, who's played well for them, but he has to be on the floor, right? And they are still figuring out how to play without some of those pieces.
It just stinks because we all know that they've had some real duds this year. In fact, they've had more duds than most NBA teams. But if let's just say you take they lost to Charlotte twice, right? I think they lost to Toronto twice. They lost to Washington. They lost to Portland. So let's say you take those 6, and let's say that you go even 2-4 against those 6. If you're 2-4 in those 6 games, right now I think you're 5th in the East. If you split those games, you're 4th in the East. I mean, the margin is this slim. And the problem for the Pacers now is that over these 20 games, these final 20 games, you ain't got Charlotte or Portland or Washington. You've got Dallas and Oklahoma City and like all these, you've got some loaded teams that are coming up here down the pike here. This is I saw something this morning. It's the 6th toughest schedule in the league.
That's what I was just
Whereas
gonna say.
I think Orlando and Miami are way back.
Right.
Way back.
Here's the thing, and I hate to bring in like a totally negative thing here, but this quote always sticks in my head when it comes to certain areas of sports. During the closing arguments of the OJ trial, I hate to bring that up, but Christopher Darden, I'll never forget, of the prosecution.
Yeah.
Christopher Darden looked at the jury just before the closing arguments from the defense and said, the smoke's about to get heavier. Just brace yourself because they're about to talk to you and the smoke's about to get heavier. And there are times in sports when I look at a team's schedule and I say to myself, the smoke's about to get heavier here. And for the Pacers, that's exactly the case because not only do they still have good teams in the West left, they've got upper echelon teams in the East left. And to your point, Orlando and like Miami are like, we got the Detroit Pistons 20 more times. Bring them on, right?
Uh-huh.
We're going through Atlanta and Washington and Detroit. Let's go. So it is about to get more difficult for them, for sure, for the Pacers, for the remainder out here. And you want to say the second half of the year, coming off the All-Star break, it's realistically the last third of the year. But we're going to find out who they are, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, right now we're on the last quarter, right? 20 games. Yeah. So this is the nitty-gritty time. But I think, Jake, when you look at the season, they're still moving towards the goal. We knew that this wasn't going to be a contender, right? So this is still kind of one of those, not a purgatory seasons, but the destination is not going to be reached this season. This is still part of the journey, right, for the Pacers. But they're so close to this season being an unquestioned success that you want so desperately for them to get there. I mean, they're 2 or 3 wins away. Again, if they were to finish 4th or 5th in the East and be firmly in the playoff field, even if they lost the first round series, you'd have to regard that as a successful year, I would think.
Derek, you also have to look at the other side of this, which is what were the expectations going into the year? If I'd have told you at the beginning of the year that we were going to be having this discussion at the beginning of March and that the Pacers were going to be relevant and we were going to be talking about how their all-star, potentially like first or second team All-NBA performer had regressed a little bit, and it might be hurting them from that 4 or 5 seed, we'd have been doing backflips, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, they're a year ahead of schedule, realistically. So we have to keep that in mind. That's not to say that you just become, complacent. But I still think that this is a team, realistically, in the way it's built, that is probably a year or 2 away.
And a player or 2 away, right? That too. But I just think This was a team. We can go back and look at the tape. I'm trying to remember what I thought. I think that I thought they were going to be 8th, so they'd be in the play-in round, but they'd be 8th, and with where they are today, they're 8th. So
yeah,
there's a chance that they actually disappoint me by meeting my preseason expectation for them, but that's because of the in-season tournament success and winning all those games against the Bucks and beating the Celtics a couple of times. The Pacers, the highs have been high this season. The problem is that the lows have been really low.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm curious to see what happens down the stretch. What I really want, Derek, my hope for the Pacers this year is that they get into the playoffs with a competitive first-round series and maybe even win that series.
Yeah,
but if nothing else,
don't get swept.
Win a few games in it to get that taste, and then you build off that. I think that's what this year has been about from the beginning. By the way, I love the Bailey and Wood hat.
Sharp, isn't it?
Matches my And Bailey and Wood, of course, the proud presenting. I'd like to think proud. We're certainly proud to have them.
They're definitely proud.
Presenting sponsor of the show.
Definitely proud.
Bailey and Wood, BAWFG.com is the website, right?
855-350-HOME.
We're talking about if you want the best mortgage rates from a company that's based right here in Central Indiana, keeps their money right here in Central Indiana, gives back to Central Indiana, and does everything they can to make sure that your rates are the best. Bailey and Wood is the place for you. Again, BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME.
Get your pre-approval.
I look like Chris Ballard with this hat like this.
If you want to refi, you can do that as well. If you got one of those rates from, I don't know, a couple of months ago that were way up, maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to wait a little bit longer. Mike and his team are going to tell you exactly what to do and take you home there. Bailey and Wood is a great sponsor of ours and a great family and company to work with for us and a great friend as well.
Totally.
Over these years. His golf outing's only, 6 months away. We're like at the halfway
Not
point
even
of the
that,
year,
right?
I think it's August usually, right?
Is it usually August?
Yeah.
That's 5 months, Derek.
Is that right? Yeah, 5 months. So, yeah, we're past the halfway point. Let's get to another fabulous sponsor of ours. It's time for our Hoagie and Hero of the Week.
Hoagie and Hops, Derek.
Hoagies and Hops. Hoagie and Hero of the Week. Brought to you by friends at Hoagies and Hops. I was just about to say that. And Chili Water Brewing. Tap Room, 42nd and Boulevard, southwestern edge of Midtown. What I hold here in my...
We're not on the edge, by the way, but the dark
left
side
hand.
of the Munich.
We'll get to that as well. Yep.
Okay.
In my left hand here is the Always Sunny. So, bacon.
Derek, this is like the Eclipse special.
Turkey. We're going to talk Eclipse, actually.
Yeah, because we got the...
That's why we brought it in. Just
Look at you.
don't step on me here because I've got it all planned out. So don't step on me. I know
brain was
you're
right
used to
there
running
with you.
your own radio show, but this is an equal partnership, and
Actually,
I can
I
handle it. Bacon bits, turkey, Munster, horsey mayo. I could drink the horsey mayo, and all kinds of add-ons here. So you got banana pep, you got peppadew pep, LT.
Pepper's outstanding on this.
You know, on the menu, it's like 8th or 9th. It's kind of down there. Sometimes when I go into Hoagies and Hops, I'm like looking at the heavy hitters at the top. Like, they got Hog, Keystone, Market Street, all that. And it takes me a second to remember, hey, wait a minute. There's Always Sunny, like, kind of hiding under there. Like, it's the one that, like, is... It's not sneaky, per se, but it's kind of the one that you forget about, and you're like, it swings a big stick. It's kind of like me on this show, where people talk about you and everything, but really, the one that packs the punch, physically and literally, is me.
So you are acknowledging that when people mention the show, they think of me.
Unfortunately.
I don't think it's unfortunately at all.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Huh?
I got an email for you this morning. Did you do something in a salt cave?
Yeah.
You don't like salt caves, right?
I didn't say I don't like it.
Okay. Well, I got an email, Derek at QuarryandSchultz.com.
Yeah.
Hey, can you get this to Jake? I heard him say the other day on his radio show that he doesn't like salt caves. I wanted to know which salt cave it was. Thanks for passing along. Sweetheart, this isn't his radio show. Derek at QuarryandSchultz.com is not the Query and Company inbox. You can easily search 107.5 The Fan, right? And find a listener form. I'm assuming you guys have one of those. Please use that from now on and stop spamming my inbox with radio show questions for Jake. I get at least one a week. At least one a week. Hey, can you pass this on to Jake? No. Delete.
Why?
That's what I do immediately.
Why? This could be important stuff, right?
No. I am not. I was your secretary for 8.5 years. Not anymore.
Derek,
it's over.
The Horizon League might be trying to get they may be trying to get a hold of me to say, hey, are you excited about the opening round of the March kickoff of championship week with having games at the Coliseum to be able to see somebody trying to punch their card into March Madness?
Oh, we're transitioning already
for the
into
Horizon
another
League.
sponsor?
And I'd say, yeah, thank you. Send me that email. I need the information.
Let's stick. Obviously, I would send that one to you, but not the Salt
Good
Cave
Lord.
one. So look at this. Hand-drawn, really cool little mini flyer for the solar eclipse event at Chili Water Brewing Tap Room in Hoagies and Hops, April 8th, of course, at noon. And they're going to have a band there performing Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Part of the reason why we have Dark Side of the Munich here, the Dunkel Lager, which I need to take a sip of.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's probably my favorite, honestly, of the ones that they do. They have beer brats that are going to be on sale there. Dark Side of the Munich pints as well on tap, and the local band Nautilus is going to be performing for the rest of the party. So the house band for Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and Nautilus as well. It's going to be a great time.
If you're going out there for it, that's why it's the eclipse. You have the Dark Side of the Munich right here, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the Always Sunny. So you have the sun and the moon going together.
I did not plan that. Yeah. I did not plan that.
Yeah. The sun and the moon go perfectly together, just like the Always Sunny.
Hero of the Week. I'm pretty sure we've used this person before, but because of the timing of breaking the scoring record and then declaring, because the last time she declared, I think, the night after we did the show. Greg and I did the show last week because you had jury duty. Caitlin Clark broke Pistol Pete's all-time NCAA scoring record. 3,668th point was scored over the weekend against Ohio State. She also announced that, obviously, she's going to enter the WNBA draft, bringing a lot of celebration here in Indianapolis. And I think, ultimately, and obviously I'm going to say this with quite a bit of bias, she has to come out eventually, right? She has to play in the WNBA eventually. So if she waits a year, Caitlin Clark's a big star. Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in college basketball, men's or women's, right now.
Yes, I agree.
She'd be a star just about anywhere that she went. But I do think that there is a difference. If Caitlin Clark got sent to,
LA Sparks.
Yeah. I think her Q rating in LA, as crazy as this sounds, because LA is glitz, glamour, stars, right? The biggest, huge, gigantic market. Her Q rating is lower in LA than it is in the Midwest.
Well,
it is.
And Derek, her boyfriend works for the Pacers.
Yeah.
Iowa is the second closest WNBA franchise to the state of Iowa. I'm telling you, this is going to be
Aaliyah Boston. I don't think we can underrate teaming up with an already
when
existing
Caitlin
star.
Clark comes to Indiana. And look, there's no guarantee that Caitlin Clark is going to be like a star in the WNBA. Certainly seems that way.
Yeah, guaranteed.
But the WNBA is a league where players like first-round picks get released before seasons begin because there's only 12 teams, right?
It's a big roster crunch.
Correct. There's only 12. It is very, very, very competitive. And there have been great college players that go to the WNBA, and I'm not going to say get lost, but become players, right? She may be Wayman Tisdale, that we find out as a system player. I don't know. What I know is this. At least for the first year, certainly, and I believe beyond, but this is going to be big I would be doing backflips, honestly, and I would be putting her picture on billboards out in front of my hotel if I ran a Holiday Inn Express in Danville, Illinois.
Yeah.
Because half the state of Iowa is going to be driving to Indianapolis 20 times a year.
Yeah, the ticket prices are crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing I want to address. I don't know how it came to be or why it is that the Caitlin Clark Pistol Pete Maravich comparison became such a polarizing topic for people. The people that complain the most on social media about triggered society are the ones that oftentimes are the most triggered. Why? I don't get it. I simply pointed out because Caitlin Clark, when she surpassed Pete Maravich, I saw a lot of people that were like, yeah, but Pete did it in 3 years and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I get all that. Very fair. And Pistol Pete Maravich was a fabulous basketball player. Well ahead of his time. In terms of his passing, his vision, his ball handling, he was unbelievable. I didn't see him play a lot, but, YouTube does exist, and I like history. But I went back and looked it up. It is true. Pete Maravich did his scoring accumulation in 3 seasons as opposed to the 4 of Caitlin Clark. That's a fact. It is a fact that Caitlin Clark has a 3-point line and Pete Maravich did not. That's a fact. Now, she hit 503 3-pointers. So she got 503 additional points that Maravich would not have gotten. But Maravich took 860 more shots in that 3 years than she did in 4. At her 47% scoring field goal percentage, that would have gotten her, if they were all 2s, an additional 580 points. So it's kind of a wash, is my point. That's not to say that she's a better player than Maravich. That's not to say that she would have been able to score that against men of the SEC in the late 60s, albeit integrated. What it is simply to say is that from a baseline of numerical comparison, the factors that go and help one probably balance out with the factors that go against the other. And it kind of makes it an interesting numerical wash. Does anybody think that means that Caitlin Clark would beat Pistol Pete one-on-one? No. Look, Maravich was a great player. Caitlin Clark is a great player. She offers a barometer by which to show the feat of her accomplishment, because all you've heard about forever was how many points Pistol Pete scored. So now it's like, wow, she must have scored a ton of points. Maravich is still the all-time scoring leader in NCAA men's Division I basketball and probably will be forever.
And will still be remembered.
Simple as that.
Like, just because somebody's record is broken doesn't mean that they're in the dust bin of history or something.
Like there's a guy I see on social media. There's a guy that I peripherally know. He's posting like 2 things a day about this, and I'm like, why? Why are your panties in a bunch, man?
I don't know why it threatens people.
Totally, it threatens them. That's exactly
records
right.
to be broken, like LeBron scoring 40,000, and it's like, well,
he's only doing it because he's 39. That's the point, right?
Yeah. It's just noise. Like
my favorite is this.
I don't even like read it and listen, and it's not even a coherent thought.
Here's my favorite. My favorite is, but LeBron didn't play in an era where he had to go up and try to get past Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason. He's bigger than both of them. He's literally bigger than both of those guys, right?
He towers over. He'd throw Bill Lambier like a rag doll.
Right.
I mean, like, physically, he's double his size.
I'm taking another bite of my sandwich.
I saw something that you'd have to average 24.5 points a game while playing every game for 20 straight years to get to 40,000. I mean, it's insane. To me, it's the Pete Rose hits record. I just can't imagine, especially with like load management, and I know the NBA is bucking against that, but with where we are in today's era of basketball, I can't imagine anybody ever breaking it. There might be somebody that comes along that's better than LeBron James. I'm not shut off to that idea. Hell, Wemby could be better than LeBron James. I don't know. But scoring 40,000 points, I don't think anybody else is ever going to do that.
Staying healthy is the hardest part.
Yeah.
I mean, Wembanyama, if you saw what he did, he was unstoppable against Pacers, right? I mean, when he's cooking.
That dude, man, like you're by him and he's at the top of the 3-point line and you think you're by him. And 99.9% of the league, you're by that person. And he just kind of Gumbies his arm out there and pins it against the glass. You know what I mean? It's incredible. Have you ever gone to the zoo and seen, and I mean this in a complimentary way, seen a giraffe run?
I don't know that I've ever seen one run.
Where it's moving. Like this is me galloping as a giraffe, but it's like neck is staying the same. Watching Wembanyama play, it's like.
Can you do the giraffe movement again?
But its neck stays. It's like he's like gliding. I don't know how to explain it. It looks fake because somebody that size should not be able to just so freely, smoothly move the way that he does. And I think he's just incredible. He's really coming into his own. I know the Spurs are still technically a bad loss. That's a much better basketball team than it was 3 months ago.
It is. He's scary
because he's better.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, he's I think been as good as advertised. We'll come back. NFL Combine wrap. Yeah. What we learned, if anything. Jake hates the Combine. Also some college hoops to get to as well. And a new sponsor to welcome on the show. It's Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Don't go anywhere.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Leave a voicemail.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz. ISC Sports Network. That Always Sunny. It's really good. Can I actually borrow? Did you use the other end of the toothpick? I have a bacon bit.
There is.
Did you use the other end of the toothpick?
Derek. There is zero. You remember one time you and I were on a conference call with somebody, and I said, "Hey, how much money are you going to give us up front?" And he goes, "Zero."
I do remember that. Yeah.
And do you remember what I said right then?
Bye. Yeah.
And you got so mad at me. There is a 0 chance that you're using this toothpick.
It's just the other side. You can put it back in your mouth afterwards. I'm
this.
just going to use the. Oh, come on. Okay.
No, hold on.
Now
I do
that's
this
gross.
too.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that you licked it, I don't want it.
Sometimes I can flip a toothpick in my mouth.
Now that you licked it, I don't want it. Let's welcome on a new sponsor. They never lick the items
awesome.
that they send you. I don't know how to transition out of that.
This is awesome.
It's our friends at Nice Bison, nicebison.com. You can see some of the shirts we got here. We have the
Derek using my toothpick is a terrible look, but
Bloomington
anything
shirt.
you get from Nice Bison is not. It's the exact opposite. For example, if
Look
you've
at this,
seen the
boiler
end
up.
of the Small Town video with John Mellencamp, this is beautiful. This is the official. There we go. Now I get it. How about that, man?
That's
That
cool.
is perfect. That's the street sign from Bloomington, Indiana. At the end of the video, remember Mellencamp gives it a wave. See ya. Perfect. Absolutely beautiful.
I had friends that lived,
Good
actually
old
my
Bloomington back in the 80s, man.
ex-girlfriend lived at 2nd and Washington, over by Goldcasters. And they had those signs along Washington Street in Bloomington. And that was 2001, 02 or around there. So it was 20 years after that. But I remember seeing those signs, even when I was at Bloomington, 25 years ago. Now I've moved over to the gold and black side of things. Boiler up. And here's Pete, astronaut. Some nice pecs. Those the pecs don't come with the shirt, just the shirt itself.
Pete's dribbling a basketball.
They also
right?
have stickers.
That's awesome.
A lot of people have asked me since the inception of this show. So we started this, August in 20. Well, the inception of the rebirth. We've known the folks over at Nice Bison, and people have asked me, hey, what are all these cool stickers that you have up here? And most of these are Nice Bison stickers. The not the Sausage Fest one. The Indy one. This is the Nice Bison sticker. The State of Indiana basketball one. That's a Nice Bison sticker. Kirkwood Avenue, Nice Bison. I feel like I have one more on here. Oh, the controller. I can't say Nintendo controller. The 80s controller. Those are 4 Nice Bison stickers on there.
Do you know the difference between bison?
They don't make the State of Connecticut sticker.
Do you know the
or
difference
the Lance
between bison
Stevenson
and
one.
buffalo?
I'm not sure. Does that have something to do with the testes?
What?
Of the they're both male, right? Bison and buffalo. But one of them is that not right?
Listen, I try to be factual for the kids. I try to provide a sprinkle of fun, some knowledge, little tidbit of info for you kids. And Derek equates it to a difference in testes.
Does it not have something to do with that? This doesn't have to be a thing. We're grown adults. We're men. We're talking about we both have them. I mean, I got snipped, but that was my vas deferens. That wasn't my my testes are the same. Both of them.
I'd like to thank Nice Bison for coming on board and perhaps apologize, as a matter of fact. I was simply going to point out that the difference between a bison and a buffalo is the region in which they're being referenced. That's it.
Oh, like where they live.
Yeah.
So it has nothing anatomically to do with...
No.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know. I learned something. I feel like there is a...
Bison are buffalo, but in different areas of the world, it's referred to as buffalo, and primarily in North America, it's referred to as a bison.
I feel like there's a male, but there's not female bison, right?
I don't know the answer to that. I would
Okay.
imagine.
I feel like there's an animal where there's something about the size of the testes that are the difference between this one and that one. But I don't know. Sometimes
That's this show.
Sometimes I fall asleep on like National Geographic, whatever, and I think I just absorb wrong information.
Yeah,
All that
I'd
stuff.
say.
Yeah, sorry. Promo code for Nice Bison before Jake kind of brought us off track there. Bison15 for 15% off your order. Bison15. Can we put that in the... Oh, okay, we already got it. See, Rake's ahead of it. He's great. Bison15. 15% off your order. T-shirts, joggers, stickers, magnets, indie stuff, IU stuff, Purdue stuff, Colts stuff, Pacer stuff. You can find it all. NiceBison.com. We're happy to have them on the show. Jake, what did you learn from the NFL Combine?
What I learned is this. Buffaloes informally used. Bison is preferred for more formal scientific purposes.
Okay.
There you go. Bison have a massive head. Buffalo have a head that is smaller and more cow-like.
So if they're at St. Elmo, Bison. If they're at the Denny's on 86th Street, it's Buffalo. Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, cool.
Bison is the correct term, though. Derek, listen, I realize the importance of the Combine. I know that teams, if they are going to invest big money in players, want to make sure that player is healthy. They want to make sure that player is not crazy, okay? I have always said, and you know, I've always been a cynic about the Combine because do I need to see what kind of 40 time did Tarek Glenn do?
Yeah, the lineman, I get it.
Did that limit his ability to be an absolute pillar on the offensive line for the Colts? What sort of high jump did Gary Brackett do?
I doubt he was even at the Combine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get that there are certain areas, but I think that Mike Mamula and that legendary story is starting to like creep more into a cynicism beyond just me about the Combine. And that was the guy that came out of Boston College and was the first one that basically looked at, okay, what are the like 10 areas at the Combine they have you do? And he did nothing but work on perfecting those areas. He came through the Combine. He put up these unbelievable numbers. He skyrocketed. He was a top 10 pick. And then was basically a bust in the NFL. And by his own admission, he's like, yeah, it's because I prepared for the Combine. It's like the SAT score. The SAT is a decent indicator as to what kind of student or aptitude somebody has, but it doesn't give you any indication. The grade point average gives you the actual indication of what the discipline is and what they do in the classroom, okay? So the Combine might tell you that a guy has fabulous traits, but what does he do on the field? And I think that teams are starting to figure that out. I've always said about the Combine, my cynicism for it is this, and then we'll get to what we learned about it. My cynicism for the Combine is this. 30 years ago, the NFL Combine was, it's incredibly important. I mean, only that there's like each team gets 2 guys that go in. Nobody knows what goes on. It's top secret behind the door. Very important stuff. We can't let anybody know because it's really important stuff. And then they realized, you know what, we could probably, like people started to become fascinated by it. So they had this contest. We're going to give away 1,000 winners, like from Hostess, if you're a winner. And 1,000 people went in, and we're like, it's just guys walking around in Speedos doing shuttle drills. And so it was like, yeah, well, but let's put this on TV because people are interested. And then they realized, wait a minute, moneymaker. So they just started promoting it everywhere, and everybody can come in and watch and see it. And instantly, people figured out this is boring. And the NFL then said, well, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot that we learn here anyway. Now that everybody else can see it, they confess to the fact that it's not really that important. And that's where I become jaded on it. Now, it also is less impactful this year because the Colts don't have a top 5 pick.
Agreed.
When the Colts did a year ago, it was
a big deal.
Yeah,
stuff. And you asked everybody, hey, what's your quarterback rankings? Remember, you have Stroud 1, you have Young 1, you have Richardson 1. And we don't have that this year.
It's a deep draft for the wide receivers. There's a really good tight end that might be available for the Colts at 15, but he might go a few spots higher. I don't think the Colts are going to move up for that because there are corners that are also very good and potentially starting players that are going to be available at 15. Those are the three things we learned from the
Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU is a popular one at wide receiver. A lot of the mocks have the Colts taking a corner. Can I say something about Mike Mamula here real quick? Mm-hmm. Mike Mamula had 31.5 sacks during his NFL career in like 6 seasons, and he had to retire because of injuries. Mike Mamula actually, I know that he's the poster child for NFL Combine. You know, there have been a lot of guys that were great athletes that had great. Remember Vernon Golson, who got drafted by the Jets? That dude couldn't play dead. He was terrible. He was out of the league in like 3 years. Right. Bjorn Werner.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't exactly a combine warrior, but he was a productive player.
Let me rephrase that. Mamula wasn't a bust, but compared to what was expected because of his combine performance.
I know. I've always kind of felt bad for Mike Mamula because it was a couple of years ago, and I was like, I actually looked it up. I was like, how bad really was Mike Mamula? And look, he wasn't like a all-pro level player or anything, but
he was Ellis Johnson.
He was
right?
okay. Yeah, he was okay. And then as what happens to a lot of guys, injuries short-circuit their career, and they can only play 5 or 6 years. Pretty straightforward draft board. I talked about this with Greg Rakestraw when he filled in last week. Colts own all their own picks and nothing else, so they have 1 through 7. But I think the needs are obvious. Wide receiver. I think you'd like to add a tight end if possible. Maybe that doesn't happen during the draft. Maybe that happens via free agency. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, defensive backfield, not just corner, but also safety. And I think if you have the chance to take, I wouldn't be completely surprised, and I haven't looked at every mock draft, but let's say at 15, clearly there's a pass rusher there who they really like. I wouldn't be surprised if they just took them. Because as good as Pay and I should say as productive as Pay, Dio, Lewis, that group has been, they don't have a true, like, wow guy. Dio's probably the closest thing, but even Kwity Paye. Like, Kwity Paye is a perfectly okay NFL pass rusher. I don't think teams opposing offensive coordinators are staying up at night thinking, oh, my God, we have to account for Kwity Paye.
I'd agree with that.
And you need to have that guy.
Well, at some point, though, Chris Ballard, it is hard. I mean, I get it. Like, edge rusher, to use that term, but a pass rusher, Dwight Freeney doesn't grow on trees, right? But at some point, Chris Ballard has to say, look, I've invested a lot in this. I've got to start investing up high in other areas and quit going back to the drawing board for the same thing every year.
But and Rake made a great point last week, and it's true. They wanted more out of the pass rush, and they got it. Now, it was a sum of their parts pass rush where it was productive because you had 7 sacks from this guy, 9 sacks from this guy, 8.5 sacks from this guy. But they did get the job done.
I would agree with
they're
that.
in a far better place than they were a couple of years ago when you were getting 0 out of it.
Dio and Kwity Paye both have been
They're good.
shown nice progression.
They're
and been
good.
good players.
They're good players.
But it's just the fact that, like, where they were taken, you were expecting.
Yeah, they're not Myles Garrett.
Freeney Mathis.
You know what I mean? Yeah, or Mathis or Freeney or guys like that. Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's anything else to share on the Combine, honestly. One thing that I do find interesting. Okay, you're going to do your shirt again?
Yeah, my official Combine.
I'm going to look up at
Combine Authentic.
No bull.
It's Combine Authentic, Derek.
Actually,
like I'm ready. I'm ready right there. So
ironic that you're wearing that shirt. Because there's a lot of bull that comes.
No, there's bison.
About not 4 inches. A couple more inches than that. I swear, I thought there was something. I'll look it up. I'm a little afraid to Google search testes difference and see what comes up. But I swear that there's some sort of an animal thing where it's like, is it a potato, and it has something to do with down here. We come back on the show. We're going to talk some college hoops. It is almost time for Midtown Madness.
You know, one of the college teams has bigger testes than
Horizon
the other
League
this year, right?
I don't know if that's really appropriate. When we're talking about animals, like scientifically, we can mention it, but I don't really want to go down that path where we're like making like balls jokes,
one has failed. What's
stuff
that?
like that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna jump into the mud pit with you.
Okay.
College basketball
dug it.
and quick hits. And something that's happening this weekend that I completely forgot was happening this weekend, and it always sneaks up on me. But one of us is always keenly aware of what's happening. I'll tell you what that is when we come back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Bailey & Wood presents Corey and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jake Corey, I'm Derek Schultz. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much for making us a part of your week every single week. Hopefully you're watching every single week. I know our buddy Matthew is, formerly Matthew in Maine, now Matthew in Southport.
Yeah, pretty much.
Doesn't roll off the tongue as
I've
well.
I've gotten to know Matthew.
Nate, our buddy Nate
enjoyed
Marine
Matthew's move.
Moved as well. He's not on Kenwood anymore. Yeah, his family's expanding. They're expecting another. So
No longer your neighbor?
No longer neighbors with Nate.
Smart guy.
Still buddies.
Okay.
But he watches our buddy Darren King as well. I mean, we've got a lot. I mean, I'm not going to list the tens and thousands of people that
Darren
watch
King
the show.
at Stewart Tire. Sorry, I just spit everywhere. Darren King at Stewart Tire stepped up large because my car is like in some black hole of repair. And Darren reached out and said, look, we got a loaner at Stewart Tire for you to drive. So thank goodness that he did. As always, Darren is the man, no question. And let me rephrase. I had to take my car to the dealer because it was a warranty issue. So otherwise, Darren would be the one working on it because he was the one person I trust the most on my car.
Yeah, me too. And I don't mean to. Stewart Tire on the South Side is great, by the way. Past sponsor of this show. I don't mean to laugh, but like of the things that bring me the most joy, you know, the smile on my son's face, waking up with my wife, Jake Query being mildly inconvenienced is one of the things that really brings me joy. I love it. You get so mad.
I have every right to be.
You get so angry.
I have every right to be.
Another Big Ten title for Purdue. Congrats to the Boilers.
We're in week 2 now of, the guy's coming out to look at it in 24 to 48 hours. Can I just come get my car? We've already taken the engine apart.
If you're watching this live, Purdue's playing Illinois as we speak, so that's a chance for an outright title. One more Purdue win or an Illinois loss means that they win it outright, but at the very least they share. 26 Big Ten titles now for Purdue, number 5 for Matt Painter. How many did Katie win? 7?
That might be right.
Yeah, 7, 8.
He won 3 in a row at least, right?
He won like national or Big Ten Coach of the Year like 7 times, so I get those sometimes confused. Any win or Illini loss, like I said, gives them an outright title. I think I tweeted this, and I feel like a lot of people agreed with it. Everyone knows what the stakes are for Purdue in a couple of weeks. Everyone knows. Purdue knows that. Everyone in college basketball knows what the stakes are. That said, you also play games in November and December and January and February and March, early March. If that's going to be the case, you might as well win as many of those games as you can and collect trophies, right? I know it's a regular season title. I know it's not a Final Four. I know it's certainly not a national championship. It still matters to me. And it still should matter, I think, especially in this league. You know, the regular season title in the ACC doesn't matter. Their tournament is their title. Big East, the same thing. But in the Big Ten, historically, the regular season Big Ten title has mattered, especially when it was a true round robin.
Derek, this is the thing about Purdue that has most impressed me. Teams hit snags, and great teams drop games. But this Purdue team has always auto-corrected, and they have not allowed the anomaly game to become a trend. And every time you start to think to yourself, oh boy, here it is, here it comes, this particular unit has overcome that.
Jerk the wheel back, right?
Fletcher Lawyer, who we were starting to wonder, like, is there something about Fletcher Lawyer after Valentine's Day where he just disappears? And then, boom, he shows that he still has it in him. Now, they're going to need that from him in March, and he knows that.
Yep.
Mason Gill, I mean, on and on and on. This team is a joy to watch. They are a joy to watch because they are unselfish. They play well together. They defend. They dive after loose balls. They hit big shots when they have to. And when things don't go their way, they do not panic. And they respond, and they get back on the right track.
You look up Purdue basketball player in the dictionary, and a picture of Mason Gillis pops up.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, that is – like when I think of – and for as great as E'Twaun Moore, Glenn Robinson, Konzo Martin, Willie Dean, all these guys, Zach Edey, as great as some of these players – all conference, all American level players are. When I think of Purdue, I think of Keaton Grant. I think of Mason Gillis. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that I really think of. Carson Cunningham. They're just.
I mean, obviously Jim Rowinski, Steve Scheffler, Craig Riley. Brad Miller. But yes, I mean in terms of just the guys that just go out and do their job, right?
Yeah, and it's not even Scheffler and Brad Miller were great, like all league level players. You know what I mean? I'm talking like, and no offense to Mason Gillis, but Mason Gillis averages what, like 6.5 points a game? But he does exactly what he's asked to do, and he's always done that. Mason Gillis could have gone somewhere where he was going to be a featured prominent player. He was a great player at Newcastle. Could have done that. And he came to Purdue, man. He redshirted, for God's sake, right? And he waited his turn, and here he is, and he hit the biggest shot of the night. Michigan State, it was still, they were hanging around. It was a 4 or 5 point game, and he hit that 3 from the top of the key, and bang, game over. Dagger, onions, bye. Lights out. Drive home safely.
Which of those is originally your statement? Any of them? Where did onions come from?
I think Bill Raftery did onions, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know who first did dagger or where that term came from.
Does he say onions because it means
onions?
Now, does that mean like? Is that what that means?
I think yeah. I mean, we're kind of we have the testes theme on the show here, but it's kind of like that. Yeah, onions.
I think it means that it's what makes the other team cry, right?
I don't think so. I
like
think
onions make you cry, right?
Are you allowed? Would you be allowed to just say like on a broadcast, like Mason Gillis has that shot testes? You wouldn't be able to say that. That wouldn't.
I mean, you've
that
done
wouldn't
it on
translate.
this show 20 times today.
Well, I know we're allowed to do it on this show, but that wouldn't translate probably to like a regular audience because that's not real. Like people don't like walk around town saying that word, right? That's more of like a scientific term. But I'm trying to think of something that like
I believe that's correct.
Cojones, like we hear cojones sometimes, right? Or Major League where he's going up the first baseline.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm trying to.
Let me apologize to all of you that
it's on the mind here, so I'm trying to think of that.
Yeah, apparently, it is.
Let's segue. How about Indiana? Back-to-back quad 1 wins.
You know what, Derek? Indiana hasn't salvaged their season. They're not going to go to the tournament.
Hayes in the barn on Indiana season.
But here's the yin and the yang of the good and the bad for Indiana. The good. I'll give Indiana credit. I'll give credit to Mike Woodson. I'll give credit to their players because I am one of those who wrote them off, and I'm one of those that was critical of Woodson in particular and just their roster in general. But you know what? Their back was against the wall. Yes, they're the ones that backed all the way up against the wall, but they have won back-to-back games now in games where they were down by, I think it was 16 and 18 respectively in those two games, somewhere in there. Mike Woodson has been very vociferous about the fact that Xavier Johnson was the key that ran the engine. And with Xavier Johnson late in the Maryland game, he was right. I mean, he was the guy that kind of spearheaded and was the catalyst towards Indiana's comeback. Khalil Ware is a guy that there was a lot of talk coming into it when he transferred from Oregon that he was a low-motor guy, that he didn't play with energy. He's had a great year. He's played very well, even in games where he hasn't been a difference in the scoring column. He had 15 boards against Maryland. And he has been a spirited player for them. And Mike Woodson was able to awaken that in him. So kudos to that. Mackenzie Mbako came in as a prime recruit. There's a reason why Duke backed out at the last minute and Indiana ended up with him. But it's taken him a while to get going here, and he has been maddeningly, frustratingly, that's hard to say, inconsistent. But he is starting to put it together a little bit now and is starting to shoot the ball and show some offensive ability to just kind of create his own shots. The yang would be this. As Mbako, Khalil Ware is gone. He's going to the NBA, right?
Yeah, I would think.
In a dry draft year, Mackenzie Mbako now all of a sudden has started to kind of intrigue people. There's a really good chance he goes too. I know that sounds crazy. Don't rule out the fact that Mackenzie Mbako goes to the NBA. Because of the dry draft year that it is, I think he would get a better look this year than even if he remarkably improves himself next year. So Mbako is also a possibility. Then that leaves what happens to Malik Renew. Does he stay? So Indiana, in terms of its long term, there's a lot of cloud there. But in terms of the immediacy, the rain has stopped a little bit. The sun's peeking through, and they get credit for that.
And I think, and I don't know, they could drop both games this week and then lose by 30 points in the Big Ten tournament. I don't know. Maybe things change. I remain convinced that Mike Woodson's going to be their coach next year.
I would agree with that.
I don't think that they're going to make that move. And I think riding the ship a little bit the last 2 weeks, even though the ink is already dry on Indiana season, I think kind of helps that. It does help playing Maryland, who is probably the only other major program that underachieves as regularly as Indiana does.
You're not kidding there.
I mean, really,
And that was a big-time program when it came to the Big Ten.
They had a 5-year run around the turn of the century, and obviously culminating in the title where they ironically beat IU in 2002, where they were an elite-level program.
Yeah, Gary Williams.
But for the most part, for the last 25 years, or 20 years, I guess I should say, they've been
Yeah, you're right.
They've been Illinois. Illinois is fine. Illinois is a perfectly capable basketball program, but it should be more. Maryland is probably a little bit lesser than that, but they should be more given their history and the fan support and the recruiting. And Indiana absolutely should be more.
Yeah, you're right.
What they've been. So you've got 3 programs like that in the Big Ten that I think I would argue that Illinois, Maryland, and Indiana should never miss the tournament or be bad.
Fair.
I don't think they should. That shouldn't happen. Also, congratulations to Indiana State. Outright Valley champs. First time since 2001. Second time since Larry Bird. They'll be the top seed in Arch Madness, which starts later this week. Next week, early next week, is the start of Midtown Madness. March starts
baby.
here in Midtown.
Nobody says
the
Midtown.
Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum Monday and Tuesday. And we will be there for a live edition of Query and Schultz. Monday,
Love that.
March 11th,
right?
4 to 6 p.m. in the fan zone. It's going to be a lot of fun. HorizonLeague.com/Indy to learn how you can get involved, and ticket info there. Going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait. Can't wait to be there. It's an awesome building. It is an awesome league. It is really one of the best mid-major leagues that there is. And you think about what some of these programs
There we go.
have done in March that are Horizon League programs. You know, obviously Butler was once a Horizon League program, but even the ones that currently are, like when I think of teams that have won as like a 12 or a 13 seed multiple times, I think of Milwaukee, right?
Totally.
Because they've done it with a couple of different times where they've been able to pull that off. So looking forward to it. In fact, the last time you and I went to the Horizon League Championships, it was the women, and it was right before COVID.
I saw the men also.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, it was Detroit Mercy.
Gotcha.
And right before Mike Davis got there, I think, right?
Davis would have been there by then if it was the COVID year.
No,
Are you
it
sure
was-
the COVID?
Hold on.
Well, actually,
Greg
yeah,
can
it
help me out.
would have bumped in.
It was the coach who was coaching Detroit.
Ray McCallum?
No. Who was coaching Detroit that had been on the Indiana staff?
Ray McCallum, right?
No.
With Kelvin Sampson.
I'm telling you, the guy who was the coach at Detroit? I'm sure it was Detroit. That Tom Crean got so mad at Michigan. Not Jeff Meyer, right? Steve McLean. UIC, that's right. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking of. Steve McLean and UIC. I saw them play Wright State.
Gotcha. Okay.
In the Horizon League sorry for that convoluted. Thank you, Greg. Steve McLean at UIC, I saw playing in the semifinals of the Horizon League tournament right before COVID, and then it would have been Wright State that went to the finals, and I can't remember if I went to the finals game, but literally like the day after that was when
everything shut down.
Everything shut down.
Yeah. And I felt bad because the IUPUI women won that year and got to call themselves Horizon League champs. Yay, rah. But you had this unbelievable opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament that was taken from them, sadly.
Yeah.
That ended up working out that way. Let's quickly get through quick hits. Speaking of IndyCar, the opener in St. Pete, can you believe it, is this weekend?
I know.
Which is crazy.
And it's a week early, it seems to me, because usually it seemed like we were at the NCAA tournament opening round or even second round games when we were in St.
It's pretty wild. Indy 500, and this is from last week, but Greg was on the show with me and we didn't bring this up, tracking dead even with the 2016 100th running for ticket sales. Nathan Brown of the Indy Star talked to Doug Bowles late last month, and they talked about it. There was an estimated 330,000 strong crowd last year. I just think, Jake, it's crazy. I mean, you remember like the late 2000s, right? Like 08, 09, and you're like, I remember hearing from people, well, we're holding on to the 100th and then we're gone.
I know.
Remember?
There was a lot of
and there
about
was a
that.
lot of feeling that the bottom was going to drop out. And not only has the bottom not dropped out, it's gone, the arrow's
You're
gone
right.
up. Kudos to Doug. Kudos to his team. It's incredible. Like, it is. Look, it's never going to be 1987 again, right? It's just a different era. But they are absolutely maximizing what this event can be. I mean, it is a big freaking deal, and not just here in Indianapolis.
It's the best, man.
Yeah,
it's
I
the
know.
best
We're the
idea.
biggest 500 homers that there are, right? But seriously, like, the facts back us up.
Are you going to do your mustache again this year?
Ashley said no. Yeah, Ashley said no. The problem is that I'm getting.
I thought you were just talking about how you still have your testes.
I'm getting a little salt and pepper in here, and it's a little too much salt.
So?
Well, it looks weird. You always say that it looks like I have food in my face. So if I really grow this out, like right now is when I used to start, I would stop shaving. And then it would come. And then it wasn't until the only time I trim it is that sometimes I'd have the hairs curl over my upper lip and into my mouth. So when that happened, like when I would feel it, like when I was eating food, I would feel the hairs. That's when I would go in and just trim off the very ends. But outside of that, that was untouched. That was just full growth.
Okay.
And I'd start it right now. Yeah, you're just jealous because you can't do it.
Okay.
Russell Wilson is not going to be a Denver Bronco anymore. Informed by the team that they are going to eat his $85 million in dead money. One of, if not the worst trade in modern sports history, right?
Bad.
I mean, 5 picks, couple of players. He won 11-19 in his starts.
You know our buddy Brandon Cristal?
$225 million.
I saw him at the Combine.
Yeah.
He works for a Denver radio station. He gave me a 9-minute dissertation as to what went wrong with Russell Wilson.
I mean, it's pretty shocking, right? It's pretty shocking. Minnesota, Pittsburgh.
Remember the Colts? People wanted the Colts to trade for
I know,
Russell Wilson.
I know. Among the potential suitors, 35 years old now for Russ, which is crazy to think. I still think of him as a young. I remember watching him in the Big Ten championship game at Lucas Oil Stadium. You were with me. Remember the guy that had the pet raccoon was with us, the Nebraska fan.
Right? Yeah.
He had a raccoon that lived in his semi. He was a trucker. A Greenwood woman messes up the national anthem at the Donald Trump rally. I didn't realize she was from Greenwood. Did you see this clip?
Did not.
Sarah Brown forgot the lyrics to "Or the Ramparts We Watched" and just kind of went through it. She said she was surprised. She saw her family come in and said she was surprised and her mind went blank. So,
Derek,
high pressure situation.
In her defense, I have always felt that is one of the hardest songs to follow along.
Absolutely.
Because it kind of the second verse, like you kind of feel like you're reverting back. It's hard to explain, but yeah, I can see how it happened.
What'd you think of the 8-year-old at the Pacers game?
Okay.
As a dad, I think I can say it. As a dad, I have a 7-year-old, right? And you want to encourage them and be like, hey, this is great, and I believe in you and all of that. But sometimes you need to have some hard truths with your kid that, hey, this isn't good.
Oh, no, they're
and some parents don't do that.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I
Who
just
signed off on it, though?
I don't know. I mean,
she got up there and screamed the national anthem.
I feel really bad. I really do because it's an 8-year-old girl. But I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, I thought it was obnoxious.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry if that makes me a bad person, but I just did.
Yeah.
Good for her for getting up in front of that crowd, right? That's awesome.
Most people would agree with you.
Brave enough to do that. That's great. But and it's not her fault. I just think,
right.
Need to have that conversation. We'll come back. Love that play. Wrap up. Chateau Kitchens, Byder Bobley. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Back for final time. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Thanks to our friends at Chateau Kitchens. At Chateau Kitchens on Instagram for before and after pictures. ChateauKitchens.com. They have been to my house. They didn't come today because of the rain. They couldn't cut wood.
They live at your house, Derek.
Outside.
Because you were always having them do new projects.
Building
us
a new
good job with the last one.
Yep, they do unbelievable work, and our basement should be completely and totally done. And I'll do the photo, shirtless, towel, whole thing.
Nope.
Nope. I'll do an updated photo. I got to get back to the gym a little bit and train. But when I train, I'll throw back on the towel and get you those pics because that's what people like on this show.
No, they do not.
Statement 1, Byder Bobley, presented by Chateau Kitchens. The NFL Combine will not leave Indianapolis.
Not leaving. Every year.
Surprised you said that. Yeah.
Every year we have this conversation. If anything else, it's petering out.
I think 3 or 4 years ago it was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when, and I think they got a lot of.
I think now the discussion is how long is it
blowback. Yeah, I think they got a lot of blowback. All the national NFL reporters wanted to remain, and if you've got the media on your side, the media is the most complaining group of all.
Right.
The coaches don't care, right? But the media is the most complaining group of all. So if Rappaport and Schefter and those guys are on board, then. Yeah, you know what to expect. The infrastructure's all there.
Can I just say one thing about
turnkey?
One thing about the Combine I don't like.
I thought you just mentioned a bunch of things you don't like.
I don't know when this came to be, and I know I'm old. I'm old. You can put the graphic up. Jake is old. Admits he's old. Grandpa Jake, whatever. I don't care. Throw it up there. There are a lot of things where I have erred in my fashion over the years. I totally admit it. The pinstripe suit with the loudest, most obnoxious Nike Air Jordans you can find looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it does. The suit with Jordans looks stupid.
Yes.
I don't mind like dress slacks and a sweater or something with
I get
Jordans
that.
on. That's fine.
And I get even like the like kind of soft-soled loafer, like the Cole Haans.
But they have to look like dress
shoes.
shoes, I think,
Correct.
right? They have to look
Correct.
like dress shoes. I think sneakers and suits is weird. I've always
Yes.
felt that way too. And like we're old, right? Look at the gray. We're getting old. Caitlin Clark is making the wrong decision. Bite or bull bleep?
Oh, 100% Bull Schultz on that.
I think if she decided to go back to Iowa, I think that decision was completely defensible. But I don't think she could have entered a better situation than what
Correct.
she'll enter in Indiana.
Correct.
So no, I think it's bull bleep. I don't think she's making the wrong decision. I think she could have stayed at Iowa and been okay. But yeah. Statement 3, March is the best sports month. Bite or bull bleep?
I live in Indianapolis,
IndyCar?
so I got to go May.
Oh, okay. IndyCar basketball.
But I do love March. I love it.
I
I
don't-
love the tournament. I love the opening weekend. I love Selection Sunday. I love all of it.
I don't think I can do it without football.
Derek,
I think October's the best sports month.
here's the thing for me. There are 2 events that make me sports nostalgic. And that's the opening weekend of the tournament
Yeah, me too.
and the 500.
Yeah.
Those take me back to watching years past and reminds me of years past. I watch the World Series. It doesn't automatically make me think of Bill Buckner.
Yeah.
I watch the NBA Finals. It doesn't automatically make me think of Magic Johnson's hook. I watch the Super Bowl. It doesn't automatically make me think of Tyree, the catch. But when I watch the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament, it reminds me of staying up with my parents and watching late games and taping them. And when I watch the Indy 500, it reminds me of, spin to win.
Yeah. When I hear dun 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 dun,
Totally.
dun, dun, I think of 12:15 p.m. I'm in school
Yep.
with a Walkman on, and Missouri is about to play DePaul in the 8-9 game
I
at
know.
Greensboro Coliseum.
You're right.
That's exactly what
You're
I think
right.
of. And I miss that. I do. I get nostalgic too. Let's wrap up with Love That Play. I kind of wanted to save the best for last year.
Brought to you, by the way, by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com, 317-353-2141. This is the time of year. Make sure the air conditioner is up and running. Maybe have them come out and give it a check. Because Love Heating and Air, that's been around for over 100 years, is going to treat you like family, 24-hour on-call maintenance, and the best products for Marion and the Donut Counties. 317-353-2141.
They're in my house too, just like Chateau. Did you see Garen Catholic's incredible buzzer beater?
Unbelievable.
Kyle Nenderip has an unbelievable write-up on it in the Indy Star. Ben Grissom only played 56 seconds, and because a couple of other guys fouled out, they're like, hey, you're in, man. Desperation, right? I mean, he's about to dribble the ball off his leg, it looks like. Throws it over his head to a wide-open teammate under the basket, Malcolm House. Am I saying that right?
The shot.
Malcolm House?
The pass is the play of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
But, to finish that, actually.
He has to make it. He's wide open by
Right.
himself. That's actually a tough shot to make. Put it in as time expired. A play that'll live in Hoosier lore. I know it'll never be like the Stacey Saran or
It was
the single
unbelievable
class stuff,
play,
but it
for
was
sure.
it was an unbelievable play that people remember for a long time.
Yeah, it was a great
And I saw
play.
it go viral. It was great. Like a lot of people like, hey, look at Indiana basketball
Now, I
playoffs,
did
baby.
see this. Somebody was like, SportsCenter has to run this, but the guy videotaping it dropped an F-bomb.
Oh, he did.
And I'm like, they probably have to mute that.
That's a problem.
Understandably, right?
Now, at the end, if the buzzer beater sounds and you just yelled out like in a moment of exclamation,
That's what he did.
Testes, like that would have been fine. You probably could play that, but not the F-bomb. Not the F word at the end. Thanks to our great sponsors, Chili Water Brewing, Hoagies and Hops, Chateau Kitchens.
Thanks for being a part of
Bailey
this
and
last
Wood
show.
Financial Group, the Horizon League. Welcome to Nice Bison
That's right.
and Love Heating and Cooling.
Give me the code again for Nice Bison, Derek.
15 Bison.
No, Bison 15.
Bison 15. Bison 15. Sorry. I got that right. For Jake, I'm Derek, Vince, Rake, everybody. We will see you next time here at Query and Schultz.
Thanks for watching.
ISC Sports Network. Bye.
For the ultimate Wi-Fi experience.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is good.
There you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my
goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That is Wrestler!
Whoa! Some see a student athlete working on a shot.
we see a powerful lesson in persistence. Some see a student preparing for success on an exam. We see a student athlete preparing for success in life. Proud to keep education in front of athletics since 1903.
Hey there, I'm Jake Query.
And I'm Derek Schultz.
Derek, do you know what we do not have in common with Ted Lasso?
What's that, Jake?
We made it beyond 3 seasons.
Oh, we're going to make it like 30, 40, 50 seasons. As long as your heart holds out, that is. Query and Schultz every Tuesday night. You can watch it right here on the ISC Sports Network, on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, X, podcast, whatever it is. Just call it whatever you want.
Twitter doesn't exist.
Just make sure Tuesday nights, Query and Schultz, 7:30, all season long, right here on the ISC Sports Network.
We outlasted Twitter.
We did.
Shot at the buzzer. Got it! She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Brady, hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again. That goes to Mentor and all kinds of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow. This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds left.
Fake players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it.
That's the finish. You get a layup taken and an and one. The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.